the Radio Misfits podcast platform and live streaming, radiomisfits.com. Check it out. I am Pugs Moran. I do this every Monday through Friday at noon. And then typically Monday through Thursday, we also do what we call Pugs and Parker. Pugs and Parker is it's more conversational than this. We'll get to what this is. Pugs and Parker is me and James Parker, and we just kind of chop it up about whatever is happening in the world. Current events driven pop culture, and sometimes it's just, hey, you ever wonder? And then we'll talk about that for like 20 minutes. That's Monday through Thursday. That's the Pugs and Parker stream here on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. This one here, high noon, Monday through Friday. This is current events driven. This is hot topics. This is trends. This is, if it's happening in the world, I try and give it to you. What we don't do is divisive politics. We don't really get into like partisan stuff or politics in general. Although the reason I bring that up so early in today's stream is because kind of unavoidable. There's going to be some hot takes today. Although, again, I don't consider myself a divisive guy, so let's just get into what today is and see how this show develops. I'm in a good mood. I'm in a real good mood. Byron's here. What a Byron. What a Michael. We got everybody. Okay, that's it. That's the only two people in the chat room at the moment. What the heck is happening here? I know. It's because I'm always late. I get it. Sure. No, it's not. It's because you have two people who care. Yeah, that's probably it. See, that's what happens. That's my co-host, my off-camera co-host. I call him schizophrenic me because he's the voice that lives in my head that for my entire lifetime has shouted down any good idea I've ever had. And he's doing it there again. All right, we got Tyranda in there. We got one Leslie. Hold on, let me check the Leslie box. We've got one Leslie. Leslie C is here. All right, well, we're not going to wait for the rest of the class. That's not how we do things. We're just going to jump right in. Here's how we roll this. I tell you about the day. This is all about what today is. I try to give you a nice, well-rounded picture of what has happened in the past on this day. And again, I went over this yesterday. This is not everything that happened on this day. These are just the things that caught my attention that I went, oh, yeah, here's what I think. I mean, if something happened on this day in like 1545 and I just look at it and go, got nothing, I move on. So if I'm missing some of your favorite historical events from this day, I apologize. It's just that you must know more about it than I do. All right. We go through the history of the day. We celebrate some people who were born on this day, and then we mourn some of the passings. And, I was putting together the birthday list today. And the birthday list got kind of long. I actually had to edit it. It's very rare that I go back and say, I'm sorry, Judith of Saxony, you don't make today's birthday. I have to cut somebody out. Today's list, I'm like, man, and I started cutting people, and I'm like, I am not going to cut Joan of Arc. I am not cutting Joan of Arc from the birth. So what I decided was to justify it this way. If the birthday lists are long, it's because I like people. It's because I like talking about people because these are interesting people. And I don't know, that maybe that just brings me some weird joy. Hopefully it does you as well. So today, just be prepared. We got a little bit longer than normal birthday list. I'll be quick on some of the lessers, but they're people I want to talk about who are celebrating birthdays today. Okay, so after the history of the day and after the birthdays, then we mourn some of the passings of people who died on this day. A couple of big ones there as well. Then, once we're done with all that, we get into all the day's topics. If it's trending, if it's a headline, if it's something that people are talking about or buzzing about in the streets, I'm going to try and give it to you here. Okay, we've got all that figured out. Let's get that going. CVS is blowing me up, man. CVS really wants me in their store today for some reason. I don't know. All right, it is high noon for the 6th day of January, year of our Lord, 2023. January 6th is the 6th day, see how that works, of 2023. That means there are 359 days remaining, so get those New Year's Eve plans started. On this day, all right, so the first couple of the history things, and there's not a whole lot of history today. 1066, following the death of Edward the Confessor of the previous day, the Witan, the Congress, meets to confirm Harold Godwinson as the new King of England. Harold is crowned the same day, sparking a succession crisis that will eventually lead to the Norman conquest of England. I mention this because many of you know, big fan of the Battle of Hastings. If I had to battle draft, no, we're not going to do a battle draft, but Battle of Hastings would probably be right up there at number one. I traced my own family lineage back to the Norman invasion. So basically, what happened here was Harold Godwinson was a northernman. He was a Viking. He was a Viking king. And he basically just crowned himself king of England. And William the Conqueror was over there in France, over there with the Norman area of France, right? Okay, so he's over there in like Normandy. Okay, let's just put it that way for the modern ear. So he's over there in Normandy, and he's like, wait, what? This Viking is claiming to be king of England, and he was kind of like, I think he was like next in line through the official English chain, like through the Alfred the Great chain of English kings. So he was the next Englishman who was supposed to be king. And he heard about this on this day in 1066, and oh my God, changed the course of human history. Although it is funny, because it happened on this day, January 6th, and we all know the Battle of Hastings is October the 14th. It took him 10 months. Like 10 months. He's like 40 miles away. It took him 10 months. Yeah. Anyway, on this day in 1205, here's another one. I like this one because it sounds cool. 1205, Philip of Swabia. I don't know what Swabia is or where. Undergoes a second coronation as king of the Romans. I'm king of the Romans. This had to have been like long after like Rome's prime, right? Because I can't imagine like a Caesar, letting Philip of Swabia claims himself king of Rome. I don't think that's happening. Here's another fun one for we're going medieval on your asses today. 1322, Stephen Euros III is crowned king of Serbia, having defeated his half-brother Stefan Constantine in battle. His son is crowned the Young Lion in the same ceremony. Stuff just sounds cool. The Young Lion. How about this one? All right, here's the last one. I got on a run with medieval stuff today. 1355. This is cool. This guy's got a cool name. 1355. Charles IV of Bohemia is crowned with the Iron Crown of Lombardy as King of Italy and Milan. The Lombards were apparently pretty tough. You know what the Lombards were? The Lombards were the people from northern Italy, and they had their own kingdom for a while. The King of Lombard, all that stuff. Anyway, moving on. 1847, Samuel Colt obtains his first contract for sale of a revolver to the United States government. On this day, Samuel Colt sold his first revolver. First purchaser, United States government. And so it began. On this day in 1907, Maria Montessori, okay. Maria Montessori opens her first school and daycare center for working class children in Rome, Italy. So this was the start of the whole Montessori schools. So I didn't know what a Montessori school was until like 1991 or something. Like there were no such thing as Montessori schools when I was going to kindergarten or whatever. So like around 1991, I was delivering pizzas, and they built this new school, like a school for kids. It was a Montessori school, and it was in a really wealthy neighborhood. And so I have just always associated Montessori schools with like rich kids. Is that, am I wrong on that? Maybe I'm wrong on that. It's just the first time I ever heard the word Montessori or saw a sign that said Montessori on it. It was at a school in a really rich neighborhood. So I don't know, but it sounds to me like she started it out as a school for working class kids. Okay. On this day in 1929, Mother Teresa arrives by sea in Calcutta, India, to begin her work among India's poorest and sick people. I remember once during an episode of Mansplaining, we had a caller who was just bemoaning the lack of contributions that women have made. And he said, you name me one woman who's done anything, right? He was one of these guys. And so I go, Mother Teresa. And he goes, anybody could have done what she did, which is hysterical because anybody didn't do what she did, which means that the caller completely misses the point of why Mother Teresa is a saint, why Mother Teresa is one of the greatest human beings who's ever lived, because she looked at a situation and you don't think she went, hey, anybody could help out these people, but she dedicated her life to it. See, that's the difference between her and Anybody could. No, anybody couldn't, because most people wouldn't dedicate their entire life to it. So stop with that. Talk about being reductive and simplistically misogynist. Just done nothing. Women I also could have named, but I always throw out Mother Teresa when somebody says something like that, just to see their response. Their take on Mother Teresa typically informs me of where this conversation is going. So anyway, yes, there are other women, but anyway, Mother Teresa started it out on this day. Really? You're going to stake out the position that Mother Teresa sucked. Okay, die on that hill. Go ahead, die on that hill. 1941. United States President Franklin Delano Roosevelt delivers his Four Freedoms speech in the State of the Union. Four Freedoms? Class? Anybody? Yeah, I didn't know either. I had to look them up. Freedom of speech, freedom to worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. It's really just two freedoms, right? But he knew that he couldn't go up there and say, we only got two freedoms. He had to make four. He had to make, at least it sounded like better than just freedom of speech and freedom of worship, because that's honestly, tangibly, that's the only thing that he's offering here. The third one is freedom from want. Really? I don't think you can stop me from wanting stuff. I think that there's stuff I still want. And freedom from fear. No, can't do that either. I'm just going to be, but the freedom of speech and worship, I get that one. Those two are good. So, the four freedoms actually seem like probably just two freedoms and a whole lot of filler. In 1994, U.S. figure skater Nancy Kerrigan is attacked and injured by an assailant hired by her rival, Tonya Harding's ex-husband, during the U.S. figure skating championships. Well, that was a crazy day, huh? You remember that? ESPN was going nuts. Then for like years, the whole country went nuts. This was a big moment. This is a cornerstone moment, I would say, in my Gen X life, in my Gen X existence. There's the moon landing, which kicked it all off for me. It was the day I was born. Then what? Nixon resigning, Reagan being shot, the space shuttle exploding, OJ murdering Nicole, Nancy Kerrigan being attacked. Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you. And then we can go up to September 11th. That's crazy. That is crazy. Yeah, that's a big one. Big one on this day. I guess I didn't realize. Okay, so 1994, U.S. figure skater Nancy Kerrigan is attacked and injured by an assailant. Hey, that whole thing, that whole silliness, that really did provide us for a couple of years with a very interesting goon squad of characters, didn't it? You remember Jeff Gillooly? Remember he had to change his name to Jeff Stone because he didn't want to be Jeff Gillooly anymore, and then he made a porno as Jeff Stone. And they just put formerly Jeff Gillooly. So, the whole changing his name, that was funny. Then there was like Shane Stant. Remember him? I think Shane Stant was the guy who actually wielded it. He was the big, fat, dumb guy. Typically they had to go get a big, fat, dumb guy who needed to make $50 and didn't mind a trip to Detroit. That was the criteria for hiring their hitman. Who else was involved in that whole thing? Oh, and then remember when would they let Tonya skate? Would they not let Tonya skate? And then she skated and she broke a lace and she put her lace up on the judge's table and she's like, "That my lace broke." And everyone in America was like, "Ha ha!" Because nobody gave a shit about her because she's a piece of shit person. Which some of you may remember from the Pugs and Kelly show. We had a fight. She whipped a pair of headphones at my head. That's right, Tonya Harding. If I thought she had anything, I'd have sued her. On this day in 2005, Edgar Ray Killen is there you go. Should have known from the name. Is indicted for the 1964 murders of the Mississippi Burning kids, Cheney, Goodman, and Schwerner. Remember Mississippi Burning, that movie? Like the events happened in the 60s. The movie was made in the 80s. And then in 2005, they finally got around to catching the guy. Did I just lose? I just lost the TV. All right, that's all right. On this day in 2021, yeah. Okay, so I'll just read it the way it's It's written here in the history. Supporters of U.S. President Donald Trump attacked the United States Capitol to disrupt certification of the 2020 presidential election, resulting in 5 deaths and the evacuation of the U.S. Congress. So this right here, this whole segment of the show is pretty much the only time that I'm going to talk about this. And I read that because I just pulled that directly from the history, from where I find all of these things that document the history of the day. And the way it's worded is the way history is going to word this, okay? Supporters of U.S. President Donald Trump attack the United States Capitol to disrupt certification of the 2020 presidential election, resulting in 5 deaths. And no, I don't give a shit what side you're on. Honestly, I have 3 close friends who were there. 2 of them fairly were part of the media, but one of them was a part of MAGA media. So they were there. Here's all I can say about that day is this. I know what I saw. I watched it all day. I know how I feel about it. And every time I've engaged in a reasonable conversation with somebody who doesn't see it the way that I do, who didn't see, I don't know. I guess, I don't know, thought we were all watching the same live news feed. They just didn't see it the way I saw it. Those conversations I've come to realize will quickly devolve into other areas. So do you know what I've been able to do with this? And honestly, this is I don't know if it's a pro tip, but this is how I have been able to manage these differences that I have with people in my life who I love, respect, admire, want to continue to have in my life. Here's how I have handled it. And I gotta say, I've handled it masterfully. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. You don't talk about it. Don't go near minefields. And don't act like, well, I don't know how easy that's going to be. Oh, shut up. It's easy. You want to know how easy it is not to talk about that with people you care about and love? Here's how easy it is. You don't talk about Dad's secretary, Bambi, do you? No, nobody in the family keeps that. That's a secret. There are shit that we in our everyday life, in our personal relationships with people, just don't talk about. There is stuff we don't bring up. So it's that easy. Just categorize it like that time back in 94 when Mom went out of town with that guy for a weekend. And we all thought that. We don't bring that up, do we? No. Or that time when Dad had to live in that motel for 6 months. And we don't talk about that either, do we? No, it's easy. There's shit we don't have to talk about. There's shit that we can just agree that we don't see the same way. Now, some of us feel like some of us see reality and others are a bit delusional, but that's okay. See, these are the things we don't talk about. Is it difficult? Only if you don't have control of your ego. It's not difficult at all. Well, I don't know if I could sit around a Thanksgiving table with my lib niece. No, that's a you thing. See, that's a total you thing, because you can sit around the table with your lib niece. You know you can, unless you're such an emotional basket case that maybe you shouldn't be at Thanksgiving dinner at all. Maybe you should be under a doctor's care. Stop it. There's shit we can control ourselves. We really can. Well, I don't know. If he wears that red hat. Oh, shut up. Control yourself. If he's wearing that red hat, he's either one, doing it on purpose to get a reaction out of you, which makes him the problem. So don't be the fish to his trolling. Don't bite. That's it. Just take it. Understand what's happening. Or 2, he's just a big old dummy who can't read a room. That's it, right? We don't have to engage with each other on these things. We can look past these things. People are complicated. There are all kinds of things that we can find that we admire and love and respect and want to know about others without having to judge them simply because of a hat they wear or because, I don't know. They have one of those coexist bumper stickers, right? Okay. These are not completely defining characteristics. So there you have it. That's my rant on January 6th, because I don't give a shit about what happened. I know what happened. What I really care about is the aftermath and how awful it has been for all of us who are just trying to move forward and get along with each other. Can we all just stop? That is what I think we should all be thinking about on January 6th, and not, was it this or was it that? History is recording it a certain way. Move on, okay? You're either on the right side of history or you're on the wrong side of history. Proceed accordingly. We don't have to poke each other. We really don't. All right, that's going to do it for the things about history. Now let's get into the supersized birthday stuff, right? I promised you, Joan of Arc was born on this day. I told you I wasn't going to eliminate Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc draft. I wouldn't even know where to begin. What would you do with a Joan of Arc draft? Here's what I'll tell you about Joan of Arc, born on this day in 1412. Batshit crazy. Oh my God. Joan of Arc was a lunatic. She was delusional. And I mean, at least by today's, like if she was around today, we'd be like, yeah, she's crazy. Put her in a rubber. But back then they went, hey, this crazy bitch is like willing to like fight to the death because she's delusional and she thinks angels are flying with her and shit. So let's just get behind her. Go ahead, Joan. You want to go first? And then she went, there is yet to be a great Joan of Arc movie. There was one made about 35 years ago. We are ripe for a new Joan of Arc movie, like a really badass that plays her like a Harley Quinn, because that's what she was. She was nuts and brutal and a great fighter and one of the rare. I guess Boudica came before. I was going to say one of the great female generals, I guess, of those times. Cleopatra wasn't really a fighter or a general. Boudica was. So Boudica, she was a Celtic queen who was like a badass. There could be a Boudica movie. There could be a Joan of Arc movie. But there won't be any of them because that Woman King movie tanked at the box office. I don't know. Did you see that Woman King movie? I didn't. I might see it. It's got people that I think are good, right? I don't know enough about it. If that had been a big hit, we'd see a Joan of Arc movie. We'd see a Boudica movie. We'd see more of these, but, I don't know. Anyway, I just want a good Joan of Arc movie. Born on this day in 1878, Carl Sandburg. Carl Sandburg, poet, American treasure. Carl Sandburg is super huge where I come from. I guess he was a Chicagoan or something, and he wrote about the dirty lake and stuff like that, right? So there's a high school in my hometown, Carl Sandburg High School. Anyway, Carl Sandburg has been a constant. I've known since I'm 3 years old. Carl Sandburg's a poet just because of where I grew up. Here I sit at this, middle-aged, old. I can't tell you one damn thing Carl Sandburg ever did. I just know the name. Carl Sandburg, what'd he do? He's a poet. That's it. Name something. Can't do that. I have no idea. No idea. Born on this day in 1878, Carl Sandburg. Born on this day in 1910, Cuban boxer Kid Chocolate. Ladies and gentlemen, what color do you think he was? What color do you think in 1910? Cuban boxer. Was he a Ricky Ricardo? Or was he a Lucy and Desi Cuban? Or was he a black guy? I'm guessing Kid Chocolate was one of those black Americans who had to pretend to be Cuban. Or maybe he actually was Cuban because they did have, black people in Cuba too. Danny Thomas, born on this day in 1912. Danny Thomas, American actor, comedian, producer, and humanitarian. What is St. Jude's, right? Wasn't that his big thing? We always see those commercials for St. Jude's hospitals and those little kids, those adorable little kids that are all stricken with God knows what. And, God love them. But that Danny Thomas, he started that. He started the whole St. Jude's thing. Born on this day in 1920, Early Wynn, American baseball player, coach, and sportscaster. Early Wynn, great ball player back in the day, only gets a mention on this list. Typically, I'd eliminate him, but he's my grandpa's favorite baseball pitcher, so he gets a mention. There you go, for grandpa. John DeLorean, born on this day in 1925, American engineer and businessman. He built the car that was in Back to the Future. But I don't know if people realize that the choice of a DeLorean as the car in Back to the Future, that didn't come first. Like the DeLorean car was a scandalous car, and it was sort of a joke that they had used a DeLorean, that Doc Brown, was that his name? That Doc Brown had used a DeLorean for the time machine, because at the time it was embroiled in like cocaine smuggling and illegal finance, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, that's John DeLorean, the guy who created that car. He backed this company with cocaine money. Born on this day in 1926, Mickey Hargitay. Why do we mention him? Because he's probably the first famous bodybuilder. And he's Mariska Hargitay's dad. That's right. Mickey Hargitay and Jane Mansfield had a baby, and that baby's name, Mariska Hargitay. All three of them car accident. Jane Mansfield died. She got her head cut off. They were riding in a convertible. And Mickey Hargitay was driving, and I think Mariska Hargitay was in the back seat or something, and they had a car accident, and Jane Mansfield's head came off. Born on this day in 1930, the beloved Mel Sharples. That's right, Vic Tayback from Alice. If you come from the 80s, just like I do, you know Alice. Vic Tayback, he died in 1990. Too young for old Mel Sharples to die. Born on this day in 1938, Adrian Celestano. All right, so I want to play something for you. This is a good one. This is a fun one. Adrian Celestano is an Italian musician, singer. He's a pop star. He's an Italian pop star from the swing, and he's not. He kind of looks like Austin Powers. I want to say that like Mike Myers based part of the Austin Powers look on Adrian Celestano, who was this 1960s swing era Italian pop star, like this guy. But he had a song, Adrian Celestano. I'm going to play you the song. Okay, so Adrian Celestano was this Italian pop star. And around the time of the Beatles and all of this stuff, he started to see among Italian music consumers that they were listening to English stuff. They were listening to the Beatles. They were listening to the Rolling Stones. They were listening to Elvis. They were listening to stuff that they didn't even understand. So he kind of got upset that, his Italian language records weren't selling as well in Italy, because now all the kids were buying Beatle records and all this stuff. So he decided that he was going to write a pop song, and he was going to make up a language. He was going to sing this entire song in a gibberish language just to see if the kids would still like it, even though because he was again upset that all of these people. So he wrote this song called, and here's I'm going to pronounce it for you. Prison Ensign Cusio. Prison Ensign Cusio. Now, this is a song that I've been using for years. I discovered it years ago. I've been using it in music beds and all that. It's such a funny song. But when my son was very young, I started playing this in a rotation of songs that he was listening to when he was little. My kid, for $100, here's the song. Hold on. So a couple of years ago, I told my kid that I would give him $50 if he could memorize every word to the song. And he did it. So now I want you to listen to the song. It's this guy's birthday. This is a song with made up gibberish language that he only put out because he was angry that his Italian audience was buying English language Beatle albums. So he made up a language. He put out this song, and it became the biggest hit of his career. It became one of the biggest smash hits in Italian history, and it's not even a real language. So here it is. And remember, I gave my kid $50 if he could memorize the entire song. Here's the song. And by the way, it's a banger. Old maids say one prison calling dancing and choose all right. Okay, first of all, this beat is incredible. Drives.
In the shoes now, I'll hold the same in a whole red maybe get the corner boss dying.
Off with the horns, I love it.
Change the mind, begin to call, baby, stay yet with Joe. When I stay in the shoes now, I'll hold the
These are all
red maybe get the corner boss dying.
Made up words, just made up words.
When it's the same age, you're
And
gonna
this
be
is all
seen.
it does.
You know, for some, another just got believe it's a shame. You the cover not choose, not right, but not so. Hope, just getting not the cover, no time.
Song saved his career. And he went on to be, he was at that point one of the biggest stars in Italian pop music history. But that song, and if it sounds familiar to you, it's because within this season, I started hearing it because my kid always texts me when he hears it. It's being used in a number of, I want to say Captain Morgan ads. I think Captain Morgan is using it during football games. So like when you're watching a football game, it's Captain Morgan wants you to party responsibly. This is the song that you're hearing underneath at the party. And somebody else is using it too. It was used in a car commercial. There's a car commercial that's currently out that my son also saw. He's like, oh, it's being used in the new VW commercial. So anyway, happy birthday to you, Adriano Celestano. You have brought me and my son a lot of joy. That song is a banger. Prison colon ensign Cuso. And yes, that's a made-up word. Born on this day in 1944. Hey, we already celebrated the fact that Mel Sharples, right? Mel Sharples, Vic Tayback was born on this day. How about another banger from 70s TV? It's Bonnie Franklin's birthday. That's right, Ms. Romano. This is it. Head the motor show, but don't have a ball. This is it. Straight ahead. That was a good theme song. That was One Day at a Time. What is so up on your feet? Okay, Bonnie Franklin's birthday, right? We love Bonnie. I'm sorry, this just into the High Noon newsroom. Bonnie Franklin died in 2013. I didn't know that. Oh, all right, whatever. Born on this day in 1946, Syd Barrett, English singer, songwriter, and guitarist, founding member of the band we all know and love today as Pink Floyd. Syd Barrett was a lunatic. Syd Barrett was a big rock star. He was the leader of Pink Floyd. You had him, you had Roger Waters, you had Dave, you had the Pink Floyd guys, the guys we know today, except Syd Barrett was also in there. Very, very much like the Brian Jones situation with the Rolling Stones, where there was this event that occurred where one of the founding and most important members of the band was suddenly taken away from this already successful band, and they just kept going. And that's kind of what happened with Pink Floyd. Syd Barrett lost his mind. He was crazy. They said he took too many drugs. No, he was a psychopath. He was not right, and he had a very tortured life, and he probably never enjoyed one moment of being a big rock star in the 1960s and 70s. Syd Barrett, born on this day in 1946. Born on this day in 1951, another big Texas rock star. How about Kim Wilson? Ain't that tough enough? Remember? What was that band called? Ain't that tough enough? Jimmy Vaughn is at Fabulous Thunderbirds. I knew it would come back. Thank you. Fabulous Thunderbirds. Ain't that tough enough? Kim Wilson, born on this day in 1951. He's the lead singer of Fabulous Thunderbirds. Born on this day in 1955, Rowan Atkinson, Mr. Bean. Oh, who doesn't love Mr. Bean? Mr. Bean's weird. Can we just objectively talk about Mr. Bean instead of, instead of like we have this like attachment, this childhood attachment to, oh, Mr. Bean's so funny, so cute, so innocent. So let's look at Mr. Bean like a police detective might look at Mr. Bean, huh? Have you ever done that? Like, let's say there's a missing girl in the neighborhood. We're looking at Mr. Bean is all I'm saying. But happy birthday to you, Rowan Atkinson. Born on this day in 1960, Howie Long, NFL football legend, handsome man, father of Kyle Long, Chris Long, Howie Long, born on this day in 1960. Born on this day in 1960, Dallas Cowboy legend, Charles Haley. Ladies and gentlemen, Charles Haley celebrating a birthday. Some stories about Charles Haley. There's some stories. I don't want to say, so I'll just make the noise. That's all I'm saying. Born on this day in 1969, Norman Reedus for The Walking Dead and Boondock Saints. We had Norman Reedus in studio once. I don't remember what it was for. Oh, I do remember what it was for. It was for the sequel to Boondock Saints. We had Norman Reedus, and this was just before he became huge on The Walking Dead. Who's he playing The Walking Dead? Chat room, help me out. Norman, I can't think of his name. It's not Travis. It's not whatever. He's like the dirtbag guy with the bow and arrow on the motorcycle. We had Norman Reedus in studio, and I can tell you he is consistent, and he is not. He looks like he just woke up in a dumpster behind a Denny's all the time. That is just his look. That is sort of the thing Norman Reedus goes, and girls just think he's so hot. He's so attractive. He looks like a homeless man. What? I was like, he was very nice. You know, he was a good interview. He was interesting. But he's so attractive. Again, he looks like he just woke up in a dumpster behind a Denny's. So I don't know. I have no idea what is attractive anymore. But happy birthday to you, Norman Reedus, because apparently you are homeless hot. Born on this day in 1982, Eddie Redmayne. He's an actor. People like him. Born on this day in 1984, A.J. Hawk, American football player, analyst. He played for the Packers, Ohio State, right? Yeah, that's where he's from. A.J. Hawk, yeah, he was great at Ohio State. He's also very good on the Pat McAfee show. He's Pat McAfee's co-host. I don't know if he's very good. He's very interesting. I'll tell you what's good. That whole presentation is good. I always talk about how I don't want to do sports talk and I don't want to do political talk, even though I think I could be great at both of them. I just can't do it. I can't hand myself in. When I see what Pat McAfee has done within the structure of what is considered sports talk, oh my God, that looks like the most fun. That looks like he has assembled a crew, a team. He obviously has he had pro football money, I guess, to start. But the way he has been able to do it is just, could you imagine if I could do that kind of presentation? If you're familiar with that kind of presentation, like my dream would be able to do a presentation like that every day, except not on sports, on this stuff. Right? Like I would love to be able to have James Parker, right, with me in here. I would love to be able to have a producer on the fly in here who's got opinions and all that stuff. I would love to be able to have another guest on with us while we run through the day's events. The way Pat McAfee has been able to sort of represent sports talk as being a bit juvenile, and maybe it's not for you, and that's fine. I'm not talking about the content of the show. I am talking about what he has been able to do with which was fairly structured within the confines of sports talk. And anyway, that's happy birthday to A.J. Hawk, who is a co-host on Pat McAfee. Wouldn't that be great? Like, what if high noon, what if suddenly we just had an injection of money? We were able to do this every day. Same content, same sort of current events talk, but we'd be able to have other people and show video. Oh my God, $1 million a year. That's it. Give me I don't even know if that's the number. Could probably do it for $100K a year. Well, no, because we need to pay 1, 2. All right. So everybody lives in the same house and we all make $50K a year. Deal? We'll figure it out. Anyway, yeah, taking current events. I always thought that current events and hot topics could be repackaged in a way that could be entertaining. It could be entertaining and informative. And he's kind of done that with some of the most interesting conversations about issues that are happening specifically within the NFL I've heard on the Pat McAfee show. And yes, there's a lot of talk about drinking and partying and all that because they're young men, because they're trying to appeal to young men. And if that doesn't appeal to you, then I would submit that you're probably over 40 years old, because that did once appeal to you. It did once appeal to me. So there you go. All right. Anyway, I'm not talking about the content of the show. I'm just talking about what they've been able to do and how I would love to be able to do that with current events. So if you know anybody who's rich who wants to talk about an investment, we could blow this shit up, because I don't think anybody else is doing it. That's actually a joke. We'd have to get on Twitch, right? When we have to do that on Twitch, we could figure that out. Hey, Mega Millions. Fingers crossed. Hey, if any of you people win Mega Millions, become a partner in this thing, and we'll be able to blow it up like that. Also, born on this day in 1984, Kate McKinnon, American actress and comedian. Saturday Night Live. There are people. She's the greatest of all time. I think she's great. Kate McKinnon is great. Kate McKinnon is not the greatest of all time. She is great. She is not the greatest of all time on Saturday Night Live. She's not. She's not. As a matter of fact, me lately, not lately, because I guess she's gone, right? And she leave. But there are points where it's just like, oh God, she is so turned up to 10 all the time. There is almost no nuance in her comedic performance. And you love Chris Farley. There was no nuance there. Oh yeah, there was. Oh, there was a shit ton of nuance in Chris Farley. Chris Farley would go way high, way over the top, absurdly big with whatever the humor was. And then he could bring it right back down and be the smallest, most vulnerable kid in the room. That was right. Kate McKinnon doesn't do that. Kate McKinnon is just always like, I'm going full force with this character. And they're great. Her characters are great. It just, the performance, it's a little much for me. I think it's a little, can we tone her down? Can we just, don't tell her how to, okay. I won't do that. I won't tell her. Let's do some deaths. Let's talk about some people who passed away because we do have some big names. On this day in 1919, Theodore Roosevelt. That's right. We had the death of a president. President of the United States, 26th president of the United States. Died on this day in 1919. On this day in 1993, Dizzy Gillespie. He was like a famous jazz guy. Dizzy Gillespie died on this day in 1993. Died on this day also in 1993, Rudolf Nureyev. Rudolf Nureyev was one of these Russian Bolshoi ballet guys who defected. Who was the other guy? There was Nureyev. Nureyev went first, but then Mikhail Baryshnikov. Was it Baryshnikov? I think it was Baryshnikov who was next. But Nureyev went first, and then, I don't know, I guess. What do they say about defectors? Actually, it's one gets the arrows, the other gets the land. It seems like Baryshnikov got the land because we seem to have forgotten Nureyev. Anyway, let's see. Other deaths. Lou Rawls died on this day in 2006, American singer-songwriter. I don't know much about Lou Rawls. My baby love, you know I... That's it. That's the only Lou Rawls song I know. That's it, Lou Rawls. God Love You Man died on this day in 2006. Pat Harrington Jr. died on this day in 2016. Pat Harrington Jr. had the audacity to pass away on Bonnie Franklin's birthday. That's right. Schneider died on Miss Annie Romano's birthday. This will not stand. This will not stand. Oh, wait. Unless she was dead first. Did she die first? I think there's a chance Bonnie Franklin died first. Hold on. Well, thank God Bonnie Franklin wasn't around to see Pat Harrington Schneider die on her birthday. Pat Harrington Jr., American actor, died on this day in 2016. Peter Bogdanovich died on this day in 2022, American actor, director, producer, and screenwriter. Peter Bogdanovich did... he did a lot of stupid stuff. Like Peter Bogdanovich, I think people made him out to be a greater director than he was. A lot of people may know him from The Sopranos. He played Dr. Melfi's doctor. Remember whenever Dr. Melfi would go to see her own therapist? Well, her therapist was played by Peter Bogdanovich. So a lot of people know Dr. Elliot Kupsberger or whatever it was. But Dr. Elliot was his name in The Sopranos. He made two movies that are undisputably great and hallmarks of my childhood. What's Up, Doc? With Barbara Streisand and Ryan O'Neal. And then he made Paper Moon with Ryan O'Neal and Tatum O'Neal. And those are two indisputably terrific films. Everything else he did was kind of, it was just weird stuff. But hey, look, if, he wants to hang his hat on What's Up, Doc? And Paper Moon, hey, we should all be so lucky. Also, dead on this day, 1 year ago today. This was a big one when it happened. The great Sidney Poitier, Bahamian American actor, director, diplomat, knighted by the Queen of England, Sir Sidney, as a natural-born resident of the Bahamas. What are we going to do for Sidney Poitier? We're going to do a Sidney Poitier draft on this day. Are we going to do it? Do we do it? Sidney Poitier draft. Now, I didn't go back and look, and I could have easily gone back and looked, because I'm sure that if he died on this day a year ago, that we did a Sidney Poitier draft a year ago, and I could have gone back and looked and seen if my tastes had changed at all, but I didn't. So let's just free ball it as I want to do. Sidney Poitier draft. Let's go. Number 1. Guess who's coming to dinner? Guess who's coming to dinner? Oh, he's so good in that. Made a whole bunch of bigoted white people in America look at that and go, well, if you want to bring home Sidney Poitier, I guess he's one of the good ones. Guess who's coming to dinner? Such a good movie. Katharine Hepburn, Spencer Tracy. So good. And, of course, Sidney Poitier. Number 2, In the Heat of the Night. They call me Mr. Tibbs. In the Heat of the Night. So good, it spun off a bad 80s nightly television show 20 years later. Yeah. In the Heat of the Night, number 2. Number 3, Blackboard Jungle. We're going back to his debut. Blackboard Jungle, such a cool movie. He plays a black teenage thug kid. He's a bad kid, except by like today's standards. He seems like a really nice guy, right? He was what Hollywood thought a scary black teenager was in 1950s. But anyway, Blackboard Jungle, great film. Number 4 in the Sidney Poitier draft, we are going with the Defiant Ones. Absolutely. Tony Curtis, Sidney Poitier, black convict, white convict, shackled together on the run from the law. Can they make it work? Defiant Ones, great film. And number 5, we're going to break from his acting just because he needs to be noted he directed some stuff too. But most notably, the 5th off the pick and the 5th off the board in the Sidney Poitier draft, dude directed Stir Crazy. Sidney Poitier directed Stir Crazy, one of my favorite comedies of all time. Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor, one of the first. They did a whole bunch of things. They did Silver Streak. They did Stir Crazy. Do I like Silver Streak better than Stir Crazy? I don't know. Anyway, that's going to complete our Sidney Poitier draft, but we are inviting a few people to camp, undrafted free agents. We're going to bring in Shoot to Kill. We're going to bring in Lilies of the Field. We're going to bring in To Sir with Love. We're also going to bring in Sneakers. That concludes our Sidney Poitier draft, the great Sidney Poitier. All right, we've gone through the history of the day. We've gone through the birthdays of the day. And we have gone through the people who have passed us on this day. So now it is time for us to get into the news of the day. All right. So what is going to shape January 6th, 2023? Hold on. Give me a second. I need to turn this back on. Thursday. Let's see here. Okay, gotta pop this back up. I need to be able to glance at the TV for what I'm sure is going to be the first topic. Again, what we do here is we just run down all the things that are happening today. If they're trending on the Googles, if they're on the socials or whatever, they're making headlines. If newspapers are reporting it, if they're breaking news, that kind of thing. We cover it all today. We run it down on a list. All right. What is happening here? All right, so let's get into what is trending. The first thing, we've got the Speaker's Fecal Fest, as it's been called. The Fecal Fest that is happening. I don't call it a shit show. They're more original than that. It is a fecal fest going on the floor of the United States Congress as they attempt for the third day, I don't even know, I've lost track, to elect. The majority party is attempting to elect their leader from within their own ranks. And it has gone to historic proportions. When this whole thing started, the joke was, it's going to be difficult to get this done, and they might have to offer up another candidate, and Kevin McCarthy's going to have to step down on the first day, and it's just going to be a mess. I mean, look, this could go. This we could be talking about something that we haven't seen since 1959 or whatever. They went back to like the 1950s. We blew past that benchmark after day 2. It was like 9 votes. It was like, well, that's a new record. And then they moved it back to, we haven't seen anything like this since before the Civil War. Since before the Civil War was the last time Congress was this inept at electing from within their majority party a leader. So it is without doubt and historic fecal fest. How many times now? 14, 15? What is this one? What are we looking at here? This is the 12th speaker vote underway? No, we're more than 12, aren't we? I don't know. Whatever. This is ridiculous. You know what can happen? I'll tell you what can happen. What can happen is a whole bunch of normal people on one side of the aisle and a whole bunch of normal people on the other side of the aisle. They can get together and they can make an attempt at running somebody. Now, it would almost absolutely have to be a Republican. And that's fine, because I believe that there are some normal people within the Democratic Party who are there seated in Congress who might be amenable to that sort of operation, that sort of idea. Let's just get this moving. Let's get ourselves a moderate. Let's get somebody in there who's going to understand that playing to the polarizing edges of either party is not a winning strategy, at least not for governance. That could happen. But it won't, because these people do not have the courage of their convictions. These people are all cowards. If there were this idea, this holdout idea that some rational, truly patriotic Americans on both sides of the aisle will come together and they will form a coalition, that's bullshit. We, the people, and I keep saying this, we, the people, elect these clowns. Vote for somebody new next time. Just vote for somebody new next time. Congress has like a 99.99% disapproval rate, and yet they also have like a 99.9% reelection rate. Well, we hate Congress, but we love our guy. Can't say this enough. We love our guy. When he came up on my porch and knocked on my door one summer, and he put his hand out and I shook his hand. And because of that, he's got my vote for life, because I tell people I know him because he came to my door. I have a connection with him. My guy's great. It's all the other people in Congress who suck. So you people need to not reelect your piece of turd. See how this happens? So all of these people are just absolute idiots. And it looks like here as we go into the weekend, I don't know how much longer this can go on, because get this. They want to go home for the weekend. We got stuff we got to do. We got to go home for the weekend. Now, you are members of the United States Congress, and right now we do not have a functioning government. So you are going to stay there and you're going to finish your job. I don't give a shit, but it's hard. Yeah. Oh, no more of this bullshit where you take a break for 4 hours and then you come back and the very first thing you do is vote to go home. What the fuck were we waiting around for 4 hours for? Anyway, it's just such a magnificently embarrassing display of how we do not have serious people in important jobs. We don't have serious people. We have people who are grandstanding. We have people who are only in it for themselves. We have people who are so protective of the fact that they know that they're not going to have this seat for life and that they're going to need to have a job in the private sector, that they will not make a move that their overlords don't dictate. So courage, hoping to find members on both sides with the courage of their convictions to do what's right, to do what's in the best interest of all of us, hoping that that's going to be a thing. Please, you're kidding yourself. Not with these clowns. I don't know what to do. Robots, that's it. AI. AI will say, here's what we're going to do. Here's how AI is going to save us. Every what is now a congressional district is going to have like a box. It's going to be like the super intelligence box. And this box is going to have absolutely everything, every bit of knowledge. It's Google. Okay, you caught me. It's going to just be Google, but it's going to be like some kind of Google AI. And then everybody at some point are going to have to go up to in the town square. The wealthier towns will have these beautiful shrines built to this. Poorer towns, it'll just be like a phone booth at a 7-Eleven in Harlem, right? Okay, so some of them won't be as good as the others. But at any rate, here's what you do. You walk up to it and you go, hey, AI, here's my problem. And you tell the AI your problem. And the AI just, everybody in the community. So the AI is just processing all of this stuff, and then it's using smart guy math and all that stuff to figure out what exactly is the most important thing. And then that little AI, it votes in Congress based on that. Why can't we do that, Elon Musk? Jeez. Come on. He's dead. Okay, Steve Jobs would be working on this. Anyway, that's how we do it. We have to remove the human element from making decisions for us. Are you listening to what you're saying? No. All right, let's move on. Jobs. Hey, jobs are great. Look over here. Jobs are great. The jobs report came out today, and it's a U.S. adds 223,000 jobs in December. That beat expectations. Expectations were 200,000 jobs. Unemployment is at 3.5. That is the lowest since 1969. Hey! 4.5 million jobs were added in 2022. That is the second best ever. 4.5 million jobs in 2022. Second best ever. Why? Because it's a decline from 2021. 2021 was the best year ever. Last year, we added 6.5 million. This year, 4.5. But look, I don't know what these numbers mean. Here's what I know. I know that people who are, speaking for the Democrats and the Biden administration are like, we told you it's working. And then people on the other side are like, we're at a year-to-year decline. So whatever. Those are the facts. Those are the numbers. I don't really know what they mean either. Here's what I know. I know that I went to the store yesterday and I paid $2.50 for shredded cheese that was on sale at $2.50. So prices are not coming down. Gas prices coming down. Thank God, gas prices coming down. Gas is at a place right now where it's like, okay, yeah, we can handle that. Food prices and stuff like that, still insane. So don't tell me, we're out of jobs. Stop it. I don't care about the jobs numbers. These are all just fodder for your surrogates to go out and talk about how awesome you are. Here's Biden. You really want something to make the American people happy? Let me speak on behalf of the entirety of the United States of America. Can you get the Dollar Tree to go back to having everything be $1? If you can do that, you have got my vote for life, sir. Dollar Tree. That was the whole thing. That's what separated Dollar Tree from Family Dollar and Dollar Plus and Dollar General. The thing that separated Dollar Tree was that everything was $1. Those other stores, they had varying prices on things. You walk into Dollar Tree, you want to bit some aspirin, for the car or whatever. You're just picking up, because that's all you do at the Dollar Tree. You buy stupid shit for, and then when you need it, you're like, hey, look, Dollar Tree aspirin in my glove box because I have a headache in traffic. You're happy about that. But everything used to be $1. You'd walk in $1. It's like, I'm going to get 8 things. I'm under $10. I'm walking out with imitation Windex. I'm walking, you know what I mean? It's whatever. And then they raise their prices to $1.25. Everything's $1.25. Biden, get the Dollar Tree. When the Dollar Tree backs their shit back up to $1, then I'll be willing to go along and say, things are great. Also, Kroger brand shredded cheese. Can you get that price maybe a dime lower? I can't. Ugh. And look, don't get me started on 2-liter bottles of soda. 2-liter bottles of soda should never be more than $2. Never. 2-liter bottles of soda are now up at $3. Are you kidding me? Jobs. There you have it. Jobs. That's why jobs is trending. Ukraine and Russia is also in the news for a reason that's strange. Especially if you go back to the way what we now know as a war, the way the lead up to it was portrayed, the way it was portrayed as they better be shaking in their boots in Ukraine. Putin's going to roll in there on a Friday and they'll be raising their flag by Sunday after, whatever, right? It was going to be easy for them. Now we're coming up on almost a year into this whole thing. And Putin is calling for a 36-hour ceasefire. Putin's like, all right, time out, 36 hours, time out. And Ukraine's going, no, we got you on the ropes. You don't get to call for a cease. Anyway, that's funny. Especially when you think about the way the war was presented to us, how it was going to be. Russia was going to just roll through and, would NATO have the balls to get involved? All that stuff. So it's going well for the Ukrainians, not quite so well for the Russian invaders. And we're a year later and Putin wants a ceasefire and Ukraine's going, no, we don't think so. We don't know. Come on, cut it out. All right, time out. Like when you're fighting with your brother or your best friend or whatever. And then, time out. Hold on, wait, stop. No, you don't get to do that in a real war, Vlad. Vlad calls for a ceasefire. Ukraine says, go kick rocks. Or more appropriately, yet. Idaho 4. Idaho 4 is what we're starting to see now as the hashtag for the Brian Koberger University of Idaho murders story, which is good because this is a story that has been struggling to find a hashtag for those of us who are little internet detectives and trying to just consume as much. I swear to God, I haven't been on Reddit this much. And I hate Reddit. I hate it. I find it unreliable. I think it's a place where crazy and stupid people meet and get ideas. I don't like it. But for some things, like these kinds of things, it does serve its purpose. There's a community of people who have been, like myself, just completely fascinated with the lack of details and then all the details that have come out since yesterday concerning the Idaho 4. So we're happy that Idaho 4, because I don't want Cobra. I don't even give a shit about the kid's name, the dude's name, not a kid. You know what I mean? What we're gonna make him famous? Let's not. Well, whatever. He's that Brian idiot kid. All right. So I don't know. We talked about it for the full show last night. So if you want a more detailed breakdown of all of the stuff that was revealed yesterday in the arrest warrant, the arrest warrant was released yesterday, and it details everything that the Moscow, Idaho police put together that led up to Brian Koberger being arrested in Pennsylvania all those months later, almost 6 weeks later. And again, and we're starting to see it, man. And I love it. I love that we can do this because this doesn't happen a lot. Seeing a lot of people, myself included, but on a much lower scale for me. But I'm seeing people on television. I'm seeing people who have covered this, who have been covering this from your Ashley Banfields to the Fox Newses to everybody in between. Everybody's starting to apologize to the Moscow, Idaho Police Department, and that tide is turning. I felt there were at times during the coverage of this where I was so angry at the lack of information or the seeming the absurdity of their lack of seriousness with the investigation. At least that's how it appeared to us that we're looking on the outside. Absolutely everyone who was raised as a suspect was immediately knocked away by the Moscow, Idaho Police Department to the point where we were like, what? Are you guys are not even going to look into this? So we were angry at them. And it turned out they weren't looking into that shit because they knew essentially who they were looking for very early on. And not only did they know who they were looking for, but they had them. But what you need to do after you identify the person who did this, you got to build that case, man. You got to wait. You got to see what, I mean, you can listen to last night's Pugs and Parker show, pugscast.com. It'll take you right to it. And we break it all down. We literally go through the arrest warrant and we go through all of well, not literally, but we cover a lot of it, a lot of the incredibly spooky details. What a horror show. I mean, what we know now about what happened on that night in that campus house at the University of Idaho. I mean, we knew there were two surviving roommates and we had all kinds of questions about them. How did they sleep through it? How did 4 people get slaughtered and the roommate slept through it? Well, now we know that one of the roommates didn't sleep through it. And not only did she not sleep through it, she encountered Brian Koberger. And I'm comfortable saying that he did it. That's another thing that I should say. A lot of times you got to wait. You got to wait and you got to see how the trial plays out. But I've been paying really close attention. He did it. He absolutely did it. And if I thought he did it 85% certainty 2 days ago, after the release of the arrest warrant, I'm now 100%. These police know they have him. And they waited until they checked every conceivable box to get a slam dunk prosecution. And that's what it looks to be on this guy. This guy was not some genius forensics PhD student who was going to be able to create the perfect murder. No, turns out he's terrible at this. It turns out that they had the car identified within 12 hours. And then he commits the murder. He commits the murder with his phone off so that his phone wouldn't ping in the cell tower that serves the area of the murders. So he knew enough to turn his phone off. So when they went and got his records for his phone, they see that his phone was turned off at like 2:13, and then it was turned back on at 4:46. So for like 2 hours, he just turned his phone off. This didn't match any other pattern that he had ever shown in the time that he had subscribed to, I believe it was AT&T. So there had never been another time where he did this. And this just so happens to be the time that his phone was black was at the time that the murders occurred. I mean, that is almost so damning in and of itself, especially since when his phone was turned back on, it shows him just aimlessly driving around the area as somebody who's just committed a horrific crime might do, because I imagine their head is swimming in some bullshit. But then they track him back to his apartment. Okay. So they're like, okay, so this is the car that we see on the video, because there's plenty of Ring doorbells and stuff that show the car. We only saw the surveillance video from the 7-Eleven or the gas station that showed the car whizzing by. As it turns out, the Moscow, Idaho Police Department had shit tons of Ring doorbells from people's security cams in the area. That car was seen in the area all night long. And it was noticed because cars aren't seen in that area. It's quiet. There's like between midnight and 5 a.m, they said you might have 2 cars come down this road. And yet on the night of the crime, this guy's white Elantra was seen 4 times driving back and forth. So he goes home, and then the cell phone data, he turns his phone back on. He turns his phone back on at 4:46, and then that's when we see him driving around. He goes back to his apartment on the campus of Washington State University. And then at 9 o'clock in the morning, with his phone on, he drives back to the murder scene. He drives at 9 o'clock in the morning after the murder. He drives back. He can't sleep. Obviously, that's the thing. He can't sleep. He drives back to the murder scene, and they ping him in the neighborhood of the house where the murders occurred. Now, as I've heard people say, that could be justified. He could say, well, I heard about the murders and it was only 10 minutes away, and I'm a PhD student in forensic, blah, blah, blah. I'm very interested in this stuff. I wanted to go see the murders. That would be an alibi. That would be a reason for him to be there, which might, knock down some motive, except for the fact that he was there at 9 o'clock in the morning and nobody called the police until 11 o'clock in the morning. So he was there 2 hours early before anybody knew. He was there to see if the police had shown up yet. He was there to see if it had been DM. Dylan, Diane, I don't know. I'm so sorry. She's a survivor, so I guess I don't have to feel that sorry. She's known as DM in the police report. She encountered him. Now, we had never heard this before. I mean, that is crazy. She heard him say, "It's all right. I'm here to help." She heard him say that in a room, or she heard a male voice say that while Kaylee Goncalves was whimpering. She said she heard that in the room. And then she was standing in the hallway, and I guess he came out of the room and he walked past her. She saw him enough to be able to identify him by bushy eyebrows that she could see, which Brian Koberger also has bushy eyebrows. Trim them eyebrows, boys. Especially if you're an amateur mass murderer. She said she was frozen in the hallway as he walked by her in the dark, and this has got to be 4:30 in the morning or something like that. And he walked right past her, and he just snaked out a sliding glass door into the night. This is when one of the neighbors' Ring doorbells captures the car in the neighborhood, pulling away at what is described as a high rate of speed. So he was hauling at that white Elantra right after the time of the murders and right after the time that the roommate says she saw this guy slither out. That white Elantra of Brian Koberger was seen racing out of that neighborhood on a Ring doorbell. They got him. They got him. This is open and shut. This is... So, okay. So, I don't know where... I mean... We still don't have a motive. Although it is starting to look like the early reports. Another reason that I was critical of the Moscow police was because very early on, friends of Kaylee Goncalves had reported that she felt that she had a stalker, that there was some weird guy, he was an incel, and that he was following her. And that's when, the whole incel movement went, we're not all murderers. Well, when that story came out, almost immediately, the Moscow Police Department said that we are aware of that situation and we do not feel that it has any bearing on the investigation. So they dismissed it right away, the whole stalker thing. I was pissed. I was like, what are they doing? Well, they knew what they were doing. I was the idiot. So I apologized to the Moscow Police Department. They knew what they were doing because as the AT&T ping records show, this guy between June of 2022 and the night of the murders, he appeared with his cell phone pinging off the Kings Road cell tower 12 times. 12 times he was in their neighborhood. He has no reason to be in that neighborhood. He goes to a university that's on the other side of town, literally across the border. This is residential. Can he produce a girlfriend who lives in the neighborhood? Because then maybe he has an excuse to have pinged 12 times. But short of that, he was stalking her. Those reports that she felt there was a stalker were real. And it's not that the police were covering up. It's that the police were already working that and they wanted us to shut up about it. So it's starting to look like this Brian Koberger may have been a stalker. That's the closest thing to motive that we have. We don't know why. And again, this is also still speculation. But for a lot of people who have been looking at all of this, makes sense. It makes sense. How could he just randomly choose a house full of beautiful women? He had to have noticed it, right? He had to have noticed it. And again, the incel thing. He is being described as an incel. One of the guys, the manager of a bar, in Pullman, Washington, on the Washington State University campus, banned him from the bar because he told one girl that he was an incel, or this is why he's an incel. Anyway, the owner of the bar described him as a militant incel who had to be banned from the bar because he was a pig, because he was he was so awkward and weird with women. He made them feel frightened. And they were right to feel frightened. Right? How many times do people get banned because he creeps me out? And you just think there's no way that, well, okay, he creeps you out, so he's got to go. But he's not really a danger. Well, in this case, I think he was. So the question becomes, did he get into it? People are speculating. He's also been banned from a coffee shop on the campus of Washington State University for the same thing, for being a creep. So it's not crazy to think that maybe over the time that he spent at Washington State University, he may burn some bridges, may have gotten a bit of a reputation. So why not just jump over to the university that's right across town, University of Idaho. I keep saying Utah, Idaho. And maybe he's hanging out in some bars there. And maybe hanging out in one of these bars is where he runs into a young, beautiful Kaylee Goncalves. Maybe he says something weird and awkward to her. And maybe she responds in a way that makes him go, oh, bitches must die, right? That could explain why his cell phone is pinging 12 times between June and the night of the murders. Good. The other fun fact about those pings, the 12 pings that occur in the Kings Road neighborhood before the night of the murder, is that they all occur in the middle of the night. All of the cell phone pings occur either just before midnight or in the early morning hours of the next day. What's he doing? That's when he committed the murders. Were these drive-bys? Were these practice runs? And he wouldn't have to turn his phone off on these dry runs because he's not committing any crimes. He's just driving around. Anyway, Damar Hamlin is also trending. Sorry, I know we spent a little bit of time on that, but if you've been following the show, you know that I'm very fascinated with this story. Such a horrible story. And the details, man, you can just read them. They're a horror movie. It writes itself. It is a horror movie. We're going to see the horror movie. I hope that the family of the victims get compensated, and I hope they're okay with it. But we're going to see this as a horror movie. Because this is just unbelievable. It's worse than Richard Speck. It's just more brutal. It's just more creepy. He left a survivor. He walked right past her. Why did he leave a survivor? We need answers. Damar Hamlin is trending. Damar Hamlin is trending because we have got, hallelujah, amazing news. Damar Hamlin, you guys, he's going to be fine. Well, we don't know about fine, but what we know is that, holy shit, Damar Hamlin is awake. Damar Hamlin is big groggy, as Damar Hamlin joined via Skype Buffalo Bills meetings today. Oh my God, and the room went nuts. That's so cool. That is so cool. So it looks like the big thing that we all feared, look, is he going to play again? Oh, shut up. Is he going to play next week? Oh, shut up. This isn't about is he ever going to play again. It was about, is he going to be able to cut his own meat ever again? Is he going to? He's, what do they call it? Oxygenation in the brain. I mean, when your heart stops, they had to start his. They had to resuscitate him twice. So we were worried. We're worried about brain damage. Nope. It looks like Damar Hamlin is doing good. When he came out of the coma, the first thing that he asked his attending physician was, "Did we win?" Yeah. Well, have I got a story for you, Damar? But we're glad that you're feeling better. So yeah, did we win? And it seems like all of his neurological, we don't know, but he knows who he is and he knows where he is. And you know what? That's freaking awesome. That he knows who he is, he knows what happened, he knows where he is. Man, we can't ask for anything more than that. So thank God. There you go. Damar Hamlin, crushing it. How about Vince McMahon? Let's talk about Vince McMahon. Look, I'm not a big wrestling guy, but I've always been amused with Vince McMahon. I always thought I always thought that Vince McMahon's character, because he, the Vince McMahon, the character of WWE. I always thought that the character that he created and the character that he began to build, like in the late 80s and 1990s, and the guy that he became known as in wrestling circles, I always thought that was like him doing a steroid Donald Trump. Because if you remember Donald Trump back in the 80s and in the 90s, he was the icon of business and all of that kind of stuff. And I always got the impression that was the character that Vince McMahon was doing. Anyway, Vince McMahon learned a thing or two from Donald Trump because he had to step away in disgrace like a couple of months back. Apparently, he was paying off girlfriends with WWE money, and he lied about it, and you gotta go. And the woke mob came for him, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna go, which was weird because I was like, man, and Vince McMahon gonna just like double down and he's gonna go quietly? Vince McMahon left. Vince McMahon's back, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. He is back on the board of the WWE. He decided that was stupid for him to resign, as I've been saying, which, I've always attribute to President Donald Trump. The thing that he taught me was don't bow to the pressure. If people are coming at you for something stupid, something that you had no true ill intent in your heart about. Now, look, this advice has been utilized by people who had ill intent in their heart. But I'm talking about in general. Like if I say something and I don't mean any malice by it, and people come from me, I ain't backing down. I ain't going to apologize. I ain't going away. I'm just going to push through it. You know why? Because, and by the way, I should be so lucky as to be at the center of a national scandal. Bring it on. But we forget. We forget when we move on. Vince McMahon, it's like he went, how long have I been gone? 10 weeks? All right. I'm going to go back to work. You can't just go back to work. You resign. Nah, I'm going to go back to work. What are they going to do? I'm Vince McMahon. Well, he's kind of right about that. So he shows up and he's like, yeah, I'm back. And they're like, what did he do again? I don't know. We all forgot. And so now he's back. Vince McMahon is back in charge of WWE. Good for him. Stupid. Everything about that story is stupid. I'm not a wrestling fan. I'm not a Vince McMahon fan. I just stupid story. Here's another stupid story, although this one is fun. Do you guys know who Matt Schlapp is? Matt Schlapp is trending. Matt Schlapp is, I guess he's a political operative. He's very powerful, not far. I'm not going to say far. Traditionally conservative. Look, I play dumb. Like you know, Matt Schlapp. I know who Matt Schlapp is. Matt Schlapp, founder and chief operator of CPAC, which is the big conservative conference that occurs every year. It's almost where the conservative agenda and platform is hammered out, or at least traditionally that's what CPAC has been. It's become rather controversial in recent years, and a lot of that is due to some of the decisions that Matt Schlapp has made. Matt Schlapp has been criticized over the past few years by some more traditional conservatives of seemingly bowing to the far right and an anti-LGBTQ sort of narrative being allowed at CPAC and all that stuff. And, you know, to his credit, I guess he always talks about how, you know, he is a friend to the log cabin Republicans, and that he believes that he personally doesn't have a problem with them being a part of the coalition and all that. He's never completely come out. You know, he tends to fall back on his Christian values, but he's neither been a great detractor as somebody who's got such a high perch within the conservative movement. But he's also never been this, you know, trailblazing sort of, no, we Republicans need to allow homosexuals in our life, or whatever. He's never really been neither. He's been accused of being both good for the LGBTQs in the conservative movement and also bad for somehow allowing, you know, certain types of people in recent years to say certain things. Most notably here in Dallas, just a couple of months ago with Viktor Orban, who is the very anti-Hungary, very anti-gay dictator of Hungary. Anyway, Matt Schlapp, that's who Matt Schlapp is. Matt Schlapp is trending because his aide, Matt Schlapp was brought down to campaign for Herschel Walker to, you know, show up on stage and, you know, wave and all that kind of stuff, because Matt Schlapp's on TV a lot. He does a lot of Fox News. He does a lot of that stuff. Newsmax, he's everywhere. So he was brought down to campaign for Herschel Walker, and he was given one of Herschel Walker's people to sort of be his guide, his driver, his assistant for whatever, the whole time that he was down here. Matt Schlapp tried to bone him. Yeah, apparently Matt Schlapp rubbed the pee-pee and stimulated the joystick, if you will, of this Herschel Walker aide who now look, when did this happen? Well, this happened back in October. Why didn't he report it then? He did. He went immediately. He documented everything. Look, there are very few people who think that this didn't happen because of the way this guy went through documenting it. After the incident happened, he immediately filmed himself like doing, I just need to say, I don't know if I'll ever use this, but I just dropped Matt Schlapp off at the hotel. You know, everything. Then he immediately called the campaign. The campaign lawyer said, you need to fill out some paperwork, and he immediately did that. I mean, it never broke. He never went public with it. And the reason that he never went public with it is because he says, I was working on the Herschel Walker campaign. Do you know how many scandals we were dealing with? I was not going to add to that. I want to work in this business after. So anyway, here, I'll give you the story. Matt Schlapp is being accused of rape or sexual misconduct, gay sexual misconduct, which again is interesting because of his position at CPAC. A staffer for Herschel Walker's Senate campaign has alleged that longtime Republican activist Matt Schlapp made sustained and unwanted and unsolicited sexual contact with him while the staffer was driving Schlapp back from an Atlanta bar this past October. The staffer said the incident occurred on the night of October 19th when Schlapp, chair of the American Conservative Union and lead organizer for the influential CPAC conference, groped and fondled my crotch in the car against my will after he bought me drinks at 2 different bars. The staffer described Schlapp, who had traveled to Georgia for a Walker campaign event, as inappropriately and repeatedly intruding into his personal space at the bars. So he was doing that, like getting close to him at the bar thing, that like weird. So you got a girlfriend. You know, you talk over like gay guys are trying to figure out if you're gay or not, or at least down for a little bit of fun, a little bit of silliness. The staffer described Schlapp, who had traveled to Georgia for a Walker campaign event, as inappropriate and repeatedly intruding into his personal space at bars. Schlapp, the staffer recalled, said he had wanted to spend the evening discussing the staffer's professional future. So this is interesting. Like a big baller like Matt Schlapp is hanging out with some intern alone in a bar because he wants to discuss his professional future. That doesn't happen. That does not happen unless it doesn't happen. I'm sorry. I've been on both sides of that equation. I have been in the equation as the big baller to the young intern or whatever, and I have been the young intern to the big baller. You don't ever go anywhere alone to a bar to talk about your future. That's not, women know this. Women know this. Men should as well. We're withholding the staffer's name at his request, citing concerns of drawing attention to himself while embarking on his first week in a new job in Republican politics. He said he would come forward with his real name if Schlapp denies the claims. In a statement, Schlapp's attorney, Charlie Spees, called the allegations an attack and said Schlapp denies any improper behavior. This appears to be, the staffer in his late 30s. All right, here's the story. All right, so here's the details. The staffer in his late 30s recalled that while he drove Schlapp back to the hotel, Schlapp put his hand on his leg. Oh, that old move. That's okay. That in and of itself, you know, we are off to the races. If I'm driving, and first of all, get in the back. If I'm going to be your subservient driver, bitch boy, get in the back. All right, and get me a hat. I want to wear a hat, and I'll drive you in the back. Can't. But no. So he's sitting next to him. And then he just like reaches his hand over and like, puts his hand like on his, probably like inside his thigh. How did he do it? Do you think he did it like it was an accident, or did he do it deliberately? Is Matt Schlapp a man of action when looking for a homosexual tryst, or is he more, we just went over a bump and then the hand like lands as, I don't know. I think Matt Schlapp's a man of action. I think men like Matt Schlapp identify what they want fairly early and they go for it. Let's see here. He then reached over. He put his hand on my leg, then reached over and began fondling. And then he fondled his crotch at length while he. Okay, I gotta walk through this. Whew, it's getting a little hot in here. Some hot Matt Schlapp action going on. The staffer in his late 30s recalled that while he drove Schlapp back to the hotel, Schlapp put his hand on his leg, then reached over and fondled his crotch at length while he was frozen in shock, calling it scarring and humiliating. When they arrived at the hotel, the staffer said Schlapp invited him up to his room. Of course he did. That's the whole point of that. See if you want to take this any further. Staffer said Schlapp invited him up to his room. The staffer said he declined and left as quickly as I could. The staffer informed the campaign about the incident the next morning. When the staffer got home that night, he received a call from Schlapp shortly after midnight. According to call records, the staffer shared with the Daily Beast to confirm that the staffer would still chauffeur him to an event in Macon the next day. The staffer described the call as short and perfunctory, but after confirming that he would drive him, Schlapp, the staffer broke down. He then recorded a series of tearful video accounts detailing the evening, which he shared with the Daily Beast as well as with 2 people close to him, including the staffer's wife. What is wrong with me? This is okay to happen. This is what he's crying about. What is wrong with me? This is okay to happen, he said in one of the videos. I don't know what I did. It's very sad. But you didn't do anything. You're a powerful man. Dude, toughen up. This is what women have been going through forever. Okay? Stop it. This is, women are tougher than this. They put up with it. And then, they're having their moment. This is happening to gay men too, I guess. Why? Because men are predators. We are. We're hunters and gatherers. We're predators. And I'm not justifying it. I think that look, if you listen to this show, I have a philosophy about how we're all born. The worst person ever on the planet is a seconds-old baby. That thing thinks about nothing but itself. It's not innocent. That thing would kill you if it could. It just doesn't know that it can. All right? We are born pretty raw, pretty narcissistic, pretty self-serving. It takes a lot of effort as we go through life to become good, to learn and understand the difference and spot the difference between good and evil. All these things are difficult. Anyway, where was I? We don't need to get into that. Matt Schlapp of the CPAC grabbed my junk and pummeled it at length, and I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell is going on? That this person is literally doing this to me, the staffer said in the video. From the bar to the Hilton Garden Inn, he had his hands on me, and I feel so effing dirty. I feel so effing dirty, he said. I'm supposed to pick this MFer up in the morning and just pretend like nothing happened? These are all the things he said in the videos. And pretend like nothing happened? This is what I'm dealing with? The staffer continued. That's it, son. Get mad. Punch him in the fucking face. That's what you do. The next morning you go, you pick him up, you punch him in the face, and you say, you ever touch my dick like that again, and it's going to be much worse. Now, what do you want to do? Do you want to ruin my career in politics, or should I go talk to a reporter about you touching my dick last night? Never use violence. Nah, you punch a dude in the face if he puts you in a position like this. I always say, men. This was not some predator, 6 foot tall, workout guy taking advantage of a much smaller, petite female. This is a man trying to take advantage of another man. Punch him in the face. This is where you punch someone in the face, and then you just move on. And now you have this on him. Now throughout the rest of your career, you have on him that Matt Schlapp is a penis grabber. Let's see. At 7:26 a.m., Schlapp sent a text saying, "I'm in the lobby," meaning he's waiting to be picked up. 1 minute later, the staffer called his supervisor, followed by a call with a senior campaign official. The staffer said the senior official was immediately horrified and pulled him off the driving duty, instructing him to tell Schlapp in writing that he'd made him feel uncomfortable. Right after that call, the staffer sent Schlapp a text. Here's the text that he sent him. I did want to say I was uncomfortable with what happened last night. The campaign does have a driver who is available to get you to Macon and back to the airport, he texted, providing the name and phone number of the new driver. Matt Schlapp started blowing up his phone with texts. He started responding, "Please give me a call," Schlapp replied, followed by, "Thanks." Schlapp then called him 3 times over the next 15 minutes, according to phone records. When the staffer did not answer or return the calls, Schlapp sent another text asking him to look in your heart and call me back. Schlapp knows he's in trouble. Schlapp knows that he grabbed the dude's dick and that this dick is out in the wind now and a little bit freaked out by it. The staffer said he never called Schlapp and has not had any communication with him since that text. Schlapp, who's been married to conservative commentator and consultant Mercedes Schlapp since 2002, she's kind of a looker. I kind of think she's hot, Mercedes Schlapp, which is why I'm always like, what? Let's take a look at that bedroom. Let's see what's going on in Matt Schlapp and Mercedes Schlapp's bedroom, shall we? They're so concerned about other people's. And I don't know that he is. She is. She's very anti-gay. Someone should tell her she's married to one. Because, whoo, is that going to be... Maybe that's why she's so anti. Because she's like, the gays poisoned my husband. He was totally strict. I don't think so. Prince Harry is trending. Because, what is he saying? He hates his brother. You guys, should I be watching this Prince Harry thing? I love my royal stuff. I'm just not crazy about this like modern thing. Like I like the old timey royals, right? Like I like learning about like, the royals in the 1930s and, the Nazi royals, the ones that were totally fine with what they were seeing happening in Germany. Those are the ones that I'm fascinated by. Queen Elizabeth, fascinated by her reign, especially as it's shown in the Netflix show, The Crown. Fantastic show. I just don't give a shit about these kids. I really don't. And what, Harry doesn't want to be a king? I guess he's not going to be a king, but he's got a new book out. It's called Spare. It's a clever title. It is a clever, I've got to give him credit. It's a clever title. And until recently, I had really no opinion on Harry and Meghan. But it just seems like, okay, all right, your family sucks. This doesn't seem right to me. It just doesn't seem right to me. Whatever. And I love all that nonsense. I love all of that, scuttlebutt, palace intrigue, and all this. But this just seems, I don't know. It seems like maybe Harry was a very sheltered royal, and he fell in love with Meghan Markle, who's a bit more street smart. And Meghan Markle likes to be famous. Meghan Markle likes the fame. And I wonder if her influence, moving him back here to America and now engaging actively in the fame game. I mean, they're basically like influencers. I mean, you got Harry, you got Meghan, you got Jake Paul. Right? It's like they don't really contribute anything. Meghan Markle was in that show Suits, right? But they don't do anything. They're just famous because somebody said they're important because God said so. Whatever. And she's like just married into it. Again, I'm working through this in real time right now with you. I don't know that I hate him. I just don't know that I'm interested in watching. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. Maybe. I heard something about a fight. There was some story about a fight, like there was a fist fight, and I don't know, Charles is upset. I don't know, whatever. I would have to say, though, just looking at both of them, if there was a fist fight between older brother William and younger brother Harry, I'd put my money on Harry. I think Harry looks like he could whip William's ass. William looks like kind of a priss. William looks like, you know what I mean? And whereas Harry looks kind of rugged, and Harry looks like he could be a movie actor. Like he could play like one of the Expendables. Actually, maybe not that far. I don't know what Expendables. Sylvester Stallone. Harry, Duke of, or whatever he is. I don't even know. He's not anymore, right? Little Chapo. Little Chapo is trending. This is a story that was breaking yesterday, and this is kind of fun. So El Chapo, Guzman, the king of the Sinaloa cartel, Sinaloa, big drug dealer. He's in jail. He's being mythologized by Hollywood. So El Chapo, he's gonna be famous. It's gonna be like a Pablo Escobar kind of a deal, except the Mexican version. And his kid has been running things, I guess, since he's been away. He's in federal custody in the United States, El Chapo, and so the cops, or the military, I should say, because do they make a distinction between cops and the military in Mexico? I don't know. It always seems like it's a military operation, but then they're arresting someone. So anyway, a military operation was done yesterday to arrest the son of El Chapo and put him in custody. And, it was met with some resistance. It was the people, apparently, attack helicopters and, tanks and all these things rolled into this town in Sinaloa, or this compound area, right there. What is it? Isn't that like over on the Gulf of California? Isn't that where that is? So they attack and they arrest El Chapo Jr. and the whole town just comes running out, and it's just absolute madness. So that was kind of interesting. That happened yesterday, and that's why El Chapo, or Lil Chapo, or El Chapo just in general, is trending. Dana White is trending again. The story about Dana White, he slapped his wife on New Year's Eve. ESPN has no comment about their association with Dana White. Neither does Endeavor. Nobody's talking. Nobody's saying anything, which means they're either doing what I think they should do, which is nothing. Remember, we just talked about it with what did Trump teach us? Do nothing. Do nothing. Wait and see if the story dies. Just don't do anything. It's so easy when the press comes calling and says, do you have a comment? Just say, no comment. Just do nothing, say nothing, give nothing. The story will die. And, nothing will probably happen to Dana White, even though I think something in this case should. I don't think you can have someone representing your brand, especially a violent brand, with that video out there floating around. But okay, whatever. I'm not running the crisis control and management team that has been assigned to this project, so we'll move on. What is happening, though, is that his new could it be any perfect? His new slap fighting league. That's right. On New Year's Eve, he slapped his wife on camera. And he also is concurrently starting a slap fighting league. The slap fighting league was supposed to debut this weekend, and apparently ESPN, who is airing this, that's right, ESPN is just going to air dudes slapping each other in the face. Whatever, I guess, I don't want to say idiocracy, but okay, we all saw the movie Idiocracy 20 years ago. Tell me how different shit seemed. Slippery slope is all I'm saying. We're heading in that direction. So ESPN has delayed the launch of Dana White's slap fighting league 1 week. 1 week. That's the estimate. They're like, all right, we can't do it this week because people will be stirred. How long do we need to wait before all these dummies totally forget that he slapped his wife on camera? I don't know. I'd give it a week. All right, a week it is. So we'll see. We'll see if it's a week. And I don't think anything's going to happen to Dana White. If he has it, if they don't get you in the first 72 hours of a scandal breaking, I think that's the rule of thumb now. You got to weather the first 72 hours. And then just, it doesn't matter what kind of human piece of trash you are. It doesn't matter what you did. Just weather the first 72 hours. Actually, that's not true. It doesn't matter what you did. I mean, there are things. But I think you need to see. You need to see if your transgression meets the 72-hour rule. That's the test. Just wait 72 hours. If it doesn't go away in 72 hours, it's because it's really egregious and probably law and trials need to happen. So anyway, but I don't know if that's the case with Dana White. We saw it. I was appalled by it, but what do you want from me? Hey, porn stars are trending. Porn stars are very, very upset about the new Louisiana legislation I told you about yesterday. Now in the state of Louisiana, if you want to look at pornography, you got to enter your driver's license number. No, thank you. That ain't happening. That's a boner killer. You telling me that I got to now go find my wallet and I got to get my driver's license and, oh my God, where are my glasses because I can't see these numbers. They're so small. Just to masturbate? Nope, not going to happen. And the porn stars are upset. Porn stars, especially some OnlyFans stars, who apparently Louisiana is a big market for them, are fighting back, saying it's unfair, saying that it makes no sense, saying that it's stupid. There you have it. Did you think they weren't going to be upset? Ring. We love Ring. You ever go to YouTube and just watch the compilations of Ring doorbell footage of like weird stuff that happens on people's front porches when they don't know, but the Ring doorbell, like everything from bears just wandering up onto your property in the middle of the night to killer clowns, crazy creepy clowns just staring at you, whatever. Anyway, Ring, man, what a great success story as a company, right? I mean, Ring didn't exist 10 years ago. I mean, maybe it did in some very small version, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't a household. Ring doorbells is a household, coast-to-coast recognizable thing about Americana. Everybody's got one. And we're seeing how important it is that everybody has one now. Look no further than the Idaho 4, the murders that occurred in Moscow. The Ring doorbell cameras from people and security cameras and all that kind of stuff played a huge role in identifying the white Elantra that was driven by Brian Koberg. So look, Ring is a fan. Here's to you, Ring. You guys, at first it just seemed like a silly luxury to be able to look out your front door without having to get up. You could see who's there. But now, no. The Ring doorbell is important. Well, guess what? Never one to be held down after past accomplishments. Ring is back in the game. Ring is introducing, and they're saying it's finally here because I don't know. I guess I don't follow Ring quite as closely as some people. But it's finally here or about to be here. And that is the Ring Car Cam. That's right. Ring is now going to be offering as a part of their services a little camera that you stick in your car. They're going to give it to you. You stick it in the car. It's tied in with your doorbell and your front door and all that kind of stuff. Now you can watch what's happening with your car. Well, what are those kids in the parking lot doing down there as you sit in your 4th floor office looking down at the parking lot? You can pull up your car cam. You can get a little cam. The camera is going here. I'll tell you. Ring finally debuts its in-car security camera. Car Cam was originally announced at the end of 2020, but delayed. Back in 2020, Ring announced a security camera for your car that connects to the company's wider home security system. Now, slightly after its planned 2021 release date, Ring is opening pre-orders for CarCam, the newest member of its security family. The unit is pretty small, but projects up and away on the cantilever arm mounted on your dashboard to give it the necessary height. There are 2 cameras, one to keep an eye on the interior, the other facing out. See, this is going to be so great. I see so much crazy shit. Do you know the good YouTube videos we're going to see now? I know some people just put GoPros and they film themselves and we get some, but that's a very small percentage of people. If all the people who have Ring doorbells on their front doors are also now going to have Ring doorbell or Ring cameras in their car, the YouTube videos of road rage and stuff, it's going to be fantastic. We're going to get so much new content. Can't wait. That's why Ring is trending. Neutral site is trending. Look, they're not going to replay the Cincinnati Bengals Buffalo Bills game from Monday night. They're not. They just got to. They're going to do it by win percentages. Excuse me. And look, it was an extremely important game to be played as far as playoff seeding goes. And I mean, we're talking about 2 of the best teams in the AFC that were meeting head to head. But they're not going to play. They're not going to make that game up. So in certain situations where the non-playing of that game would have been a factor in which team gets home field, the NFL has decided they're just going to play those games at a neutral site. The 2 neutral sites that are being discussed are Ford Field and Soldier Field in Chicago, because God knows the Bears ain't going to be needing it. They ain't going to be needing that. They're done. They're already on the golf course. They're done for the year. The argument or the debate is whether or not they want to do it in an indoor facility, which would be Ford Field in Detroit, or an outdoor facility, which would be Soldier Field in Chicago. Those 2 sites are being singled out because of where they are and because of the 3 teams that will be affected here. The 3 teams that would possibly need to play a playoff game in a neutral site would be some combination of Buffalo and Kansas City, or Kansas City and Cincinnati. Some combination of that. If any of those games occur where Cincinnati has to play Kansas City in the AFC Championship game, or if Buffalo has to play Kansas City in the AFC Championship game, then that game would have to be played at a neutral site, just because fair is fair, and the Buffalo Bills have played 1 less game than the Kansas City. So that's why Chicago and Detroit were chosen, because Cincinnati, easy drive to Chicago or Detroit from Cincinnati. Buffalo, a little bit more difficult drive, but still you can make that drive to either Chicago or Detroit. And Kansas City is also, you can drive from Kansas City to Chicago, no problem. Detroit, a little bit further. But and the other thing is they were factoring those teams. They think that it would probably go to the outdoor stadium, which would be Soldier Field in Chicago, over Ford Field in Detroit, because these are all teams who play in outdoor stadiums. So no matter where it would have been, if the home game had been played in Buffalo, that's an outdoor stadium. If the home game had been played in Cincinnati, that's an outdoor stadium. If the home game had been played in Kansas City, that's an outdoor stadium. So anyway, neutral site is what they're looking at. It's not 100% guarantee that they'll even need to do this. These teams could be eliminated and the stacking order could play out differently. But neutral site is the emergency plan in case the cancellation of Monday Night Football somehow plays a role in one team not getting home field or a bye or whatever. All right, there you have it. Todd Chrisley. Todd Chrisley is trending. Chrisley knows, that guy. He's trending because he's going to jail, but he's also doing a podcast, and apparently he's still making news. He did a podcast with his son where they talked about whether or not he's gay or not. And he's like, I'm not gay. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. So they're talking with your son, of course. Of course, Todd Chrisley from Chrisley Knows Best is not gay. Fine. Moving on. But whatever. It's trending because everybody's going, he's so gay. But he's not. He says he's not. I'm looking at him too. He says, let's go with what he says. Joe Rogan is trending. Joe Rogan is trending after a prominent bone collector went on the Joe Rogan podcast this week and said that a $500,000 valuable woolly mammoth tusk was dumped somewhere around the East River back in 1940. People are now dangerously searching in the river for these bones. So some wackadoo goes on Joe Rogan and goes, "There's $500,000 worth of mammoth bones in the East River." And now people are like jumping in the East River. We the people, right? We the people. That's who we are. Uncle Junior is trending today. Uncle Junior from The Sopranos. Why is he trending? Because his Newark house is on sale. The Newark house that served as Uncle Junior's home in The Sopranos is for sale. $585,000. So $600,000 for Junior's house in The Sopranos. You guys remember The Sopranos? Remember Junior's house? Junior lived in like a 3-bedroom, 1,200 square foot ranch house that was built in like the 1950s. You know, one of these like post-World War II just track sort of houses. Is it $600,000 because it was the house used in The Sopranos? Or is that what those houses in that neighborhood are going for? Because holy shit, is that expensive? That house shouldn't be more than $200,000. Are you kidding me? $585,000 for Junior. Think about it. If you're a Soprano freak like me, think about it. Think about Junior's house. The kitchen with a back door. It was like everybody's grandma's house. Everybody's grandma's house. That's what Junior Soprano's house was. Yeah. That's it. I got nothing else. It looks like we're done. That's good. We're good for the day. How about let's get back together same time right here on Monday for another High Noon show. High Noon, I like to do it every Monday through Friday at noon. And then we do Pillow Talk with myself and James Parker. I've got my poetry. Pillow Talk comes on at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Thursday. So no Pillow Talk tonight. However, if you want to like and subscribe to the station, the channel, make sure that you get the alerts. I do this show every day at noon, but also from time to time, if something big happens, I am known, not quite as much, to jump in and cover some kind of breaking weird story. So if you like that kind of stuff and want to just join a little clique of people who watch things unfold live as they happen, we're the place for you. What else do I want to say? I guess that's it. All right, I'm going to go back to watching this nonsense that's going on in the House. I have no idea. It looks like Kevin McCarthy is he's making some progress. At least that's the last time I checked. He's going to win. He's going to be the speaker. He's going to be. I'm just telling you. Guys like Kevin McCarthy get what they want, and he wants this, and he is going to the mats. And when push comes to shove, Kevin McCarthy and his ilk get what they want. It's going to be speaker. We'll just see how long it takes. It's going to be crazy. Sure shit ain't going to be Hakeem Jeffries, who seems to win every vote, but, you know, you got to have 218 instead of just a simple majority. I don't know why that is, right? Doesn't that not kind of make sense? I don't know. I'm sure there's a way you could explain it to me. Our whole system is broken. We've all just sort of said that as a cliche. But I think that if you've been like me and been watching this unfold, how the sausage is made, you know that this system is far more broken and just ludicrous. It's just the way I'm trying to search for an interesting word to use to describe the system of government as it's being depicted this past few days. A fecal fest. That's what it is. A good old-fashioned all-American shit show. All right, guys, we'll see you on Monday. Bye, folks. To be on guard, that is understood. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on